Okay, another matchup we got on, a really, really fun one, is the Colorado Buffaloes at the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. The storyline to know is pretty easy. These are two quarterbacks that are must-see TV. In fact, Dalton, are there two quarterbacks in the country that draw people in more than these two that we have in this game?
This is just entertaining, isn't it? You've got everything around Colorado and Shedeur Sanders, and he might be QB1 in this year's draft, and then you have one of the few, if not the only, true freshman starting quarterback right now.
In the Power Four, at least.
I
think San Diego State has a starting quarterback.
Oh, that's true, yeah. In the Power Four, and it's certainly the highest profile one, right?
Yes.
You've got the Rayola name at Nebraska, and then he goes out, and I know it's UTEP, but it's still his first college game. He's slinging sidearm throws. He's slinging deep balls when he's getting hit. Like this, he's got the Patrick Mahomes lookalike thing. I don't know that there's two more entertaining quarterbacks in college football right now. And you thought last year's Colorado-Nebraska game was fun. The fact that Nebraska now might have a quarterback to match Shedeur, this is a whole different ball game here. This is a lot of fun. Under the lights in Lincoln. I mean, you couldn't ask for it's the weirdest thing too, because I don't think you could have a more fun game between two teams that didn't make a bowl game last year.
Yeah.
And yet it's just totally magnetic. It just draws you in with there's so much star power on both of these teams. Nebraska is trying to make a comeback right to prominence. Colorado is trying to make it with Coach Prime and Shedeur and Travis Hunter and all of this. This is the most entertaining game. This might actually be the best game of the week, honestly.
We got to race home from Ann Arbor after this. We got to right when that game's over. We got to get out of there.
We have 250 miles of ground to cover, and we better cover it quick. Yeah.
We got to get back for this. And listen, Shedeur was awesome in that game against North Dakota State. 90.7 PFF grade, 5 big-time throws, a tie for the most in the country in week 1. And Dylan Raiola, listen, he's not the coach's son like Shedeur Sanders is, but he's the prodigal son for Nebraska. Obviously, the first 5-star recruit for the Cornhuskers in 19 years, almost 2 decades since Nebraska's had a 5-star recruit come in. The first 5-star quarterback ever for Nebraska as well. Also the son of Dominic Raiola, legendary center for Nebraska, won the Remington Award, had a long career in the NFL, the Detroit Lions as well. His uncle, Donovan Raiola, is the offensive line coach at Nebraska. The Raiola family is royalty at Nebraska right now, and Dylan Raiola is, like I said, he's a prodigal son for them, and he actually looked really good in that game against UTEP. 79.5 PFF grade, Dalton. That was the best debut by a true freshman quarterback in 6 years. The last time we saw a grade higher than that was Sam Hartman in his true freshman debut for Wake Forest. So Dylan Raiola really getting off to a hot start against UTEP. I cannot freaking wait. You can't. There's some games where one side of the ball is way more fun than the other side of the ball. These are two quarterbacks, dude, where you're like, I cannot look away from the TV because I don't want to miss anything.
I think we were quietly hoping last week that Raiola would look really good, just for this scenario, to go, okay, all right, maybe the hype's real. He had a great first game, and now we're talking about, now he gets.
People are already throwing the Mahomes stuff out. I'm not ready to say that, but they're throwing it out there.
Yeah, easy now. You're talking a guy in the GOAT conversation there, but I think we were really curious. We had it on last week going, how good is he going to look? It's UTEP, yeah, but it's his first college game. And some of the throws, I mean, there are special moments for sure. And this could be a very special moment if Nebraska were to pull away with this one.
Absolutely. So you, Dalton, had the Colorado side of the ball in this game. What should we know when Shedeur Sanders and that Buffalo's offense is out there?
The formula is simple, right? I think now for over a year we've known this. You have to get to Shedeur Sanders or he's going to kill you, right? And Nebraska's pass rush last year was really a big variable between them winning and losing ball games. They were 90th in the country in team pass rush grade last season. Didn't have a single player last year with at least 30 pressures. And you look at the splits of when they won games last year versus when they didn't, okay? 5 games when their team pass rush grade was over 65, which is like just a solid mark. They went 4-1. 7 games where it was under that number, they went 1-6, including the Colorado game. Okay, so if they don't rush the passer, they're good in coverage, but not good enough to overcome just an inept pass rush, right? And Shedeur Sanders in the game specifically last year, we know he's great if he's protected, but he had so much time to work with. And on throws of at least 2.5, released after 2.5 seconds, I should say, 2 touchdowns, 2 big-time throws, 12 of 20 for 191 yards and a 92.6 passing grade.
Wow.
Too much time to operate last year. And look, they got Colorado off to a slow start. They didn't score for the first 25 minutes of that game, and then it was 10-0 at halftime, and then the avalanche came. Nebraska has to get to Shedeur Sanders. You have to beat Colorado's offensive line. They looked pretty good in pass protection last week against North Dakota State. Better in the pass game than the run game. I thought they were improved. I think North Dakota State threw some fun stuff at them, some stunts and things like that, mixed up coverages. But the facts are the facts. Shedeur in a clean pocket might be the best quarterback in the country right now. He might be the best quarterback in the country regardless because he can improvise a little bit too. But I think the same principle holds. If Nebraska can't get to him, last year they tried to blitz him even, 0 blitz, and he still found a way to beat it. Even when they blitzed him, he found a way to beat it. They threw different coverages at him. They went drop 8, tried to make him hold the ball longer. That didn't work. What is the answer? What is the answer for Nebraska to get to Shedeur Sanders? Because we saw teams like last year, right? UCLA, they just had monster pass rushers, so they won that battle. Teams that win the battle in the pass rush against Colorado's offensive line, then you can stunt them. Because honestly, they're still not particularly good at running the ball. There's not a lot of balance in this offense. And I think for as much as it gets talked about with Colorado's offense, I know everyone wants to see balance. I know everyone wants to see them not be last in the country in rushing. And you don't want to be dead last in the country in rushing. But they're not going to have a whole lot of balance. And honestly, if I had Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and Will Shepard and Jimmy Horton and Amarion Miller and LaJohntay Wester and whatever other weapons, I'd probably throw the ball 80% of the time too.
Yeah.
I can't blame them. That's their best chance to win, and their best chance to win is to protect Shedeur Sanders and allow him the time to make throws downfield.
Absolutely. My matchup to watch, Dalton, when Dylan Raiola has the football. Is Colorado going to be as aggressive in man coverage as they were last week? We talked about this in the Sunday review show. So Colorado's new defensive coordinator and Robert Livingston and the Buffaloes ran cover 1 on 48 of its 69 defensive plays. That equals almost 70% of their defensive plays were in cover 1. They had varying levels of success with that coverage. The Buffaloes allowed 5.9 yards per play on those snaps, and they were exploited multiple times by the Bison with man beaters, with QB run, with some inside zone runs as well, because they're so predictable defensively. North Dakota State knew exactly what they're going to do, so you can't do the same thing here against the Cornhuskers, and if they do, Raiola could pick them apart. In fact, last week on throws against single coverage, he had an 86.9 passing grade and completed 3 of 5 passes for 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his only big-time throw of the day was against single coverage as well. So he was fantastic against single coverage. Yes, very small sample size, obviously, but he was really good against single coverage. I will say this. It stands to reason that they probably won't be that aggressive, right? Because defenses, when you think about it, why do they run cover 1? Why do they run man coverage? Well, usually is when you have a clear athletic advantage with your defensive backs against opposing wide receivers. And clearly, Colorado had that against North Dakota State. Nebraska has some guys. Jamal Banks is a very good receiver. They have other really good weapons as well. So they probably won't. And also, when you play cover 1, when you play man coverage, that allows you to put more guys in the box. And we talked about it. You got to stop the QB run game and the run game overall with North Dakota State. So there were reasons why Colorado ran man coverage and cover 1 specifically that often. But at the same time, it's like, okay, was that just the game plan for that game? Or is this the defense the entire freaking season? That's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. I think it's the former. I think they're going to have a different look on defense in this game. But I'm just worried that, say if it's something different, what if they run cover 3 every single play? Like, are they just committed to one play every single time? Or will they be more varied with their looks on Saturday?
We'll see, because it's a problem they had a lot last year. They were a high man coverage team last year, and I actually did some digging. And in single high defenses last year, they were the lowest graded defense in the Power 5. So I would think you get a new defensive coordinator in Robert Livingston, and some of that changes at least a little bit. Now, again, could be a game plan thing. And Livingston was a defensive backs coach with the Cincinnati Bengals under Lou Anarumo. And Anarumo's really famous for making very, very different week-to-week game plans. So yes, maybe he took that out of it. That's what you hope for, is you go, that's what they did for North Dakota State. We've got something different for Nebraska. It's dangerous to do it, right? It's dangerous to play man coverage that much. You mentioned almost 70% of the plays last week. The nationwide leader in man coverage rate last year was Illinois, and they were just under 59%, and them and Purdue were the only 2 teams above 47%. Yeah. And they just did it because they played in the Big Ten West, and they had good secondary.
You're going to worry about passing games in that conference.
You can play press man every play in the old Big Ten West when you're playing Northwestern and Iowa and Minnesota and all these teams, right? This is different. I mean, when you're playing a quarterback like Dylan Raiola now and a group of receivers that's ascending. This passing game is ascending. this is not the same passing game as Nebraska last year. They had the third worst passing grade in the country last year. They were so hamstrung by their quarterback situation last year. It was a big part of why they lost this game last year. So I think the quarterback battle, the battle in coverage on both sides, the battle in the pass rush, especially for Colorado protecting Shedeur, there's a lot of variables in this game. And I always love rematches. You just get to see the adjustments from the year before and then the new variables that step in, Dylan Raiola being the biggest one. It's going to be so much fun to watch this game.
For the simple fact of why they should play different coverages in this game, it's a 19-year-old quarterback.
And actually, you know, that's something I was meaning to say. When you man-to-man and single coverage and one-on-one matchups, especially when they're pressed, it's the easiest thing for a young quarterback to see.
Yeah.
You just go, okay, I'll just chuck it up then. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to guys moving around and rotating safeties and zones and figuring out who's blitzing. If you line up the way Colorado did most of the time against North Dakota State, you make it way too easy, one, on a quarterback, and two, on a play caller. I think a lot of North Dakota State's biggest plays were just, they're all on that list of things you do to beat man coverage. You mentioned the pick plays and the mesh concepts and quarterbacks scrambling. I mean, quarterbacks can run on man coverage because everyone's got their back turned, right?
Yep.
That's why you don't play man coverage against guys like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, those guys, right? And you can't even do it against Cam Miller at North Dakota State because he'll just take off on you. It's such a fascinating aspect of this game on both sides is the coaching. It is. I think it very well could come down to the coaching and who finds the schematic advantage for either side.
That's why I was saying, man. I don't think you can have the same coverage every single time against Raiola because he's going to be able to diagnose it. It's like for a true freshman quarterback, throw a lot of different looks at him and say, okay, can this kid actually diagnose it, or is he just going to beat the one coverage he sees all night? So that's going to be a really interesting matchup, I think, in this game. Dawn, I was going back and forth. I don't know who's going to win this game. I'm 50-50. I'm still on the fence right now.
Yeah.
Who are you going with to win this game, though?
I'm with you. I think this was the hardest game to pick. I think you have two teams with so many variables and especially with Colorado, such defined strengths and weaknesses, like so clear cut towards the passing game. And then we're curious to see how they're going to be coached on defense in this game. It's going to be a closer game than last year. The improvement for Nebraska at quarterback makes this a closer game alone. And we've only seen Raiola once, and I can already tell you it's an improvement from last year, what they had. And they're not handcuffed with their play calling. I like that Nebraska found balance in their game last week. That was against UTEP, but they want to keep the balance. I think that's going to be big for them. But I think it's a coin flip. I'm taking Colorado. I'll take Colorado 34-31, and I just think I liked what I saw in the trenches from Colorado last week. I did. I thought their defensive line, the run defense, played a lot better when it wasn't scrambles and quarterback draws that were schematic disadvantages with your free safety one-on-one with a 230-pound quarterback and things like that. I'm going to have the faith that there's some adjustments to the defensive play calling. I'm going to have the faith in Shedeur Sanders, who might be the best quarterback in the country, despite, again, all of the noise, all of the bluster, all of the everything. He's really, really good. And his ability to diagnose coverages, I think, is just about better than anybody in the country. I'll take Shedeur. I think if this game – here's the thing for Nebraska. I think if this game does become about just Shedeur versus Raiola – Shedeur is probably going to win. Mm-hmm. I don't think you want to get in that shootout. I think if you're Nebraska, you want to be able to win in the trenches. You want to have balance, and you want Raiola to have one of those days where he throws for 240 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You don't want him to have to match Shedeur and all those weapons because Shedeur is going to win those types of games against most teams. He just has to get to them and be protected enough to get to them, right? So Nebraska is going to want to have balance. I'm just concerned with them not getting to Shedeur last year. And his ability to diagnose coverages is such an X factor. There's so few college quarterbacks can do it at a level he does. Mentally, he's as good as any quarterback, if not better, in the country. I'm curious to see what Nebraska throws at him. I'm curious to see what Colorado throws at Raiola, but I'll stick my neck out there and go with Colorado in one more big game, and we will see where this goes because obviously it's the biggest lightning rod in college football.
I will go on the opposite side here. I'm picking Nebraska to win this game, 31-27. I think Raiola is going to shine under the bright lights and lead the Cornhuskers to a major win. I think Nebraska's defense, I really like them. I really do. And I think if Colorado is completely one-dimensional offensively, which they've been for 2 years now, that could be a major issue. So I think if Nebraska's able to key in on the passing game, and I know it's really hard to stop Shedeur Sanders and those receivers, trust me, I know that. But I think Nebraska, like you just said before, will be way more balanced than Colorado. They'll have more answers for Colorado. I think Colorado is basically, okay, Shedeur, Travis Hunter, go win this game for us. And if they can't do it, they can't do it. And we're not winning this game. So I think that's going to be the story for a lot of Colorado games this year, honestly. So Nebraska's going to win. It's a coin flip for me. I can see it going either way, but I will go with the Cornhuskers. And I think the home environment will play a big factor as well. I think that Lincoln is going to be jumping in that game. That's going to be an awesome game.
It's their biggest game in a long time.
Very much so. Very much so. I'm very, very excited for that one.